What's going on? What's going on? Forest Hill and Everman family. This is your host with the most, Willie Bayman, man. We are back for another fire episode in our series, Standing on Business, man, where I get to sit here and interview and engage with people who are in the marketplace, have businesses, man, that are part of this community. Y'all follow us, man. Go follow our Facebook page, man, and come be a part of what we're doing. 6962 Forest Hill Drive in the beautiful city of Forest Hill, Texas. Now, this guy that I have to the left of me is somebody, man, I've known for quite some time, a big brother of mine, and a mentor who I've learned a lot from, man. So I'm grateful to be connected to you, man.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
But to kind of give you guys some intro, he is a Forest Hill native, visionary and founder of Image 2 Barber and Beauty Salon, entrepreneur who's been in business for 30 years, man. That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Community leader, pastor of the Vessels of Praise Worship Center, husband and father, ladies and gents, online community. Y'all give a warm welcome to my big brother, Pastor Eric Paul.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
How's it going, man?
Man, it's going great, man. Glad to be here. Glad to be in your presence. Glad to be in the city that I've kind of grown up in.
Yeah.
50, I moved here when I was 5. 52 years of my life I've been in the city of Forest Hill.
Wow.
And I've watched this community develop and grow. and God's been faithful to us. And so I thank God for what I've seen happen and transition. You know, I've been a part of a lot of growth in this community.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
50 years, that's a long time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Long
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
I guess just take a moment to share with our viewers and listeners, I guess your childhood and upbringing, being in the Forest Hill and Everman community and what your childhood was growing up.
Okay, so I actually grew up maybe 4 or 5 blocks from here. Right, there's a park that's named after the young lady that kind of helped birth the library, Mrs. Harvey.
Wow.
And so I grew up on that same street. I grew up in a time where, in fact, when I got there, we were one of 3 African Americans on my block.
Wow.
And so I saw the transition. I saw, the flight. I saw, our communities change. And and I remember having block parties. I remember Yard of the Month.
Wow, that's cool.
Man across the street was the deacon at the church where I grew up in, and so if my mom and dad were not taking us to Sunday school, then we were riding in his VW Beetle to the church on the east side, and so I've seen streets change. I've seen what was used to be a field. Right now is a fitness center, used to be a store, a grocery store. All this commercial business has really expanded and blown up in the city, and I've been blessed to see that happen.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Following that, what does the cities of Everman and Forest Hill mean to you?
Man, it's the cities. Both are kind of small, really kind of tight knit.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to be noticed. For people not to know you. When you've been in a city, so long and been engaged, then a lot of the leadership, and you're connected to.
Right.
And there are certain experiences that you become a part of simply because of relationships.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm thankful for the relationships that we've been able to forge in these 52 years of my life.
Yeah.
Yes, in Forest Hill. Yes.
That's amazing. I want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
In November of 1994, Image 2 Barber and Beauty Salon started the hiring process, for the daily operations aspect. What traits do you look for in people when it comes to staffing, making sure that you have the right people in place?
Gotcha. So, personality. You want people, when you talk about a service industry, which is what we do. I've been in the salon business for 36 years.
That's amazing.
My wife and I both own, Image 2 Barber and Beauty Salon. In fact, my mom was my initial investor.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so I knew that coming in, then I was going to have to establish the staff. It was not my mom's market. She just had the money.
Yeah. The resources.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I knew that I was going to have to staff the facility in order for us to be functional. And so, you look for people with personality, people that are pliable to learn, they're willing to be open to, change, something new. I worked in a retail market prior to serving in the barber and beauty industry.
Where?
In the retail market, I worked for a young man. In fact, the owner was a Jewish guy, and his manager, I never forget it. Smitty is what we called it. and this guy, every person that walked through the door, he knew their names. He knew their parents. He knew their grandparents.
That's amazing.
Whatever they needed, sizes, whatever. And he would make it happen. And so I adapted that culture. So when people would come in my salon, then I would always speak to them, whether they were my customer or not.
Yeah.
I would always speak to them. Because I knew that would create some sense of comfort for them. And I knew that I was training my staff to do the same thing.
That's good.
And so I watched that culture be established in my business. And so it developed into more of a family kind of oriented experience.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You hit on something, going back to when you mentioned when you had people come in, welcome them, making sure that you're looking them in the eye and welcome and talking to them. I think that's very important, whether they're your client or not.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you engage and let them know that you care.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge deal.
Yes, sir.
How did you come up with the name for your business? What was the idea behind that?
So when we purchased it, the name of the business when we purchased it was New Image. And so I tried not to get too far from that. And of course, me being, spiritual, being a preacher, then you always look for scriptural references. And so I thought about, how God, when he created us in his image and after his likeness. And so thinking about image and what we do in that field is that we kind of recreate. You come in looking, shabby, needing to be groomed, and you come in one way, and you leave out another way.
Yeah.
And so I thought about how the image changes, how you transition, and so image 2 was kind of dropped in my spirit.
I like
and
that.
I said, I think that's it. That was it. Yes.
I like that. I
Yes,
like
sir.
that. How important is client engagement when it comes to having people come in and sit in your chair? And the reason why I ask is because me, growing up, getting my haircut, still getting my haircut to this day, I don't just look at it as getting a haircut. I look at it as engagement and conversation, and the barber learning me, and I'm learning the barber, and building that relationship.
Yes.
So what does client engagement look like for you?
Key word, relationship. When you build relationships with people, then they will always be committed to your business. They'll come back for generations, and you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see. I've seen generations of kids. I've seen kids leave the city, go off, get married, move in another city, and then when they come back home, they knew that they could come back, and then they drive down the street and they see Image 2. Man, I used to get my hair cut there, and they bring their kid.
Wow.
And so that was the kind of culture that I wanted to establish within my business, so it could continue from generation to generation.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. In your bio, you were mentored by Mr. Lee Husbeth of the Fantastic Barber and Beauty Salon for 5 years.
Yes.
How did that experience and exposure help you in wanting to start your own brand?
So, as you begin to grow in any industry, you start thinking of, and this is what I've learned about leadership, is that in leadership you learn what to and what not to.
Yeah.
So you observe, what your leader's doing, and how you can enhance, what is being done. And so, in my experience, I appreciated, what I learned. I had an opportunity to to be a part of, there was a lot of great operators. And in fact, I don't know whether I can name drop, but since I'm on the mic, and I'm going to.
Go ahead.
David Mann was, a part of our staff. David, before he became, the big, celebrity, was a stylist.
Wow.
And
No idea.
He and I worked right next to each other. Yeah, and so we had some great experiences there. Building relationships. You see different things that became ideas for me. I said, man, I like that. I remember being in a setting where there was a kid. He had to be 8 years old, and they were talking about sports, which is typical in the barbershop.
Yeah, it's typical.
But here's a kid at 8 years old who knew statistics. For players from multiple generations.
Wow.
We're talking 8 years old. I mean, this kid was so sharp. I said, man, that's awesome. But to see those kinds of encounters and see people from all different walks of life walk through that door, I said, this is a portal. This is a door for so many different experiences. That we have to learn how to value. I mean,
Yeah.
And so me being what I consider downtown Forest Hill. I'm on the main street. And I always said, Lord, I want to be the kind of business, where people can come and get, not just great relationships, but they can get resources. They can get connections. Whether it's an attorney or a doctor, or just information. When it comes to job finding.
Yeah.
And go to the barbershop, man. Everything come to the barbershop.
I like that, man.
Yes,
Well
sir.
said. Well said. And to me, having the experience and opportunity given, through my library director, Michael Harger, and Sister Rita, working here, man, and getting that experience and exposure,
Yes.
and allowing me to, move in what, God has called me to do. It's been amazing.
Yes, sir.
Having that hub where it's education, where it's
Absolutely.
literacy, where it's community work,
Yes, sir.
showing the people of Forest and Everman that we truly do care.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And giving them resources. So
Yes, sir.
now
Yes, sir.
you hit on the money with that. Outside of the coaching and mentorship of Mr. Lee, did you ever attend barber college to better perfect your own craft?
Absolutely. I went, in fact, I started at a school called Roffler School of Hair Design, and it was on Seminary. I was young, newly married, but I was trying to find myself. Couldn't figure out what it was I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I went off to junior college, and I did a semester in junior college, and realized that I didn't have the discipline for that. So let me do something that I know that I'm passionate about, and that's when I learned how passion will take you further than any level of education. And so because of my passion, then I started doing. I went to school. I said, let me get legitimate. Let me get a license, to do this. And so I went to Roffler School of Hair Design. It took me a couple of years, to get my license, but that was the kickoff. And then here, just several years ago, then I reconnected to Williams Barber College, which is a historical barber college in the city.
Wow.
And reconnected with the owner there. And my goal was to pursue my instructor's piece, because I always kind of thought that I'd want my own school one day. So I did that and built some great relationships with Mr. James Thomas, which is the owner of Williams Barber College. And so it kind of broadened even my perspective of the industry. We work in a I think it's at least multi-billion-dollar market.
Right.
And we don't really tap into it fully.
Yeah.
So my goal is to get the piece that is assigned to me and really cultivate it and develop it into something.
I totally agree with that. God gives us multiple gifts, but it's up to us to cultivate them.
Absolutely.
You can't just leave it on the shelf
That's
and
right.
leave it dormant, man, and expect
right.
God to do the work.
That's right.
No, He
That's
puts
right.
it in you.
Yes,
You
sir.
work on it.
That's it.
And
That's it.
so, that's good. How do you continue learning and improving your skills as a barber, considering you've been in the game for so long?
Gotcha. So After 36 years in this market, I really I changed, my focus to more administrative, more business,
yeah.
business development, branding.
Yeah,
And
that's important.
So this season for me is, in terms of building my own personal business, that's not my focus, and my focus is really building, the business at large.
Yeah.
And giving opportunity to, staff, because you got guys and girls who come out of, Barber College, and come into, spaces like mine, and you have to help them, build and grow, and you have to mentor them and
Yeah.
train them,
Yeah.
and teach them,
Yeah.
because you can be gifted, and have the wrong personality, and
Yeah.
die.
Ooh, you right about that.
So you have to kind of teach, train up a child in the way he should go. When he gets old, he will not depart. You have to make those deposits, and when you are a pioneer in the business, then it's your responsibility to make those impartations.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't know they don't know.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think we should forever be learning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we should always be learning, man.
Absolutely.
I think as long as we on this grass green earth, we should
Yes,
always
sir.
be learning new skills,
Absolutely.
developing new skill sets, man, in order to perfect.
Yes, sir.
What we're doing.
Yes, sir.
And so, for you, what was the idea in wanting to merge the barbershop and beauty salon together? Because from what I'm seeing, growing up, it was always the barbershop
Yes.
being the barbershop,
Right.
and the beauty salon being the beauty salon. So, what was that ideal in making that blend?
Well, the blessing in acquiring it is that it was already encompassed. I had both the barber and beauty salon in one space. So there was, several years ago, there was a craze, for suites. So you have salon suites and you have legacy suites. You have all of these, different salon brands that create privacy. And so, as I begin to, grow, then you create a separate experience for the barbershop and the beauty shop. Because, there's a degree of ego and just that men, I call it the boys' room. In the barbershop, there are the things and conversations, that you will feel comfortable with talking about in the presence of men, versus having women, in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so we created a private space for the ladies, little suites,
Okay.
for the ladies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it works really well. I established a culture where, when ladies come in, we open the door, and even when they leave, we walk them out and make sure that they're secure.
Yeah, that's important.
Because those are principles that when you were younger, if you had a male presence, in your life, then those were, just gentleman principles that you taught, or were taught. And so, some things you don't want to die. Chivalry, you don't want to die. You want,
I like that.
You want your sons, you want, your daughters to know what it means. Your daughters know what it means to be served by a man, and you want your sons to understand what it means to serve.
Wow.
And so those are kind of, principles that I had an opportunity to establish, and still, going forward, still doing, because you want to create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable and feel like it's home and people care.
Yeah.
You're not just taking my money.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
good. Yeah. You definitely want them to leave with a whole experience.
Absolutely.
Going home differently than the way that they came
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know what people are dealing with.
Sure.
We don't know what they're struggling. We don't know what they're wrestling with.
That's correct.
And so, going in there and getting a nice haircut, getting groomed, going in there and getting your nails done or your hair done, it makes you feel good.
Sure. Sure.
Deion said you look good, you feel good,
Yes,
you feel
sir.
good, you play good.
That's it. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yes, sir.
agree with that.
Yes, sir.
for you, what does providing elite customer service mean to you? Because I know customer service is big in
Yes.
any industry.
Yes, sir.
But in your industry, what does that look like?
I've always wanted to provide a 5-star experience, for my customers. Simply because I don't think that we're exposed to it a lot. If you don't venture outside of your community, then you don't know what a 5-star experience is like, a 7-star experience is like.
That's
You've never
good.
been to a hotel or restaurant, where the service is 100.
Yeah.
Then you don't know what that experience is like. And so you have a lot of people that are in your community that don't even venture outside of their community, so they don't know, how to receive good morning. How are you today, sir? You get kids in the chair, who come from a home atmosphere where they're never asked questions.
Wow.
Or
That's good.
where they come from conflict, and argument, and so sometimes these kids, because they've never experienced it, they're not comfortable even responding. They don't know how to respond.
Yeah, they
they
don't.
think you in your why you in my business? But creating that kind of dialogue and making people feel comfortable, then again, it's all about relationship. If we understand in whatever market we function in, if we understand the value of relationship, people will continue to come and they will refer their family members, they'll refer other people, and your business will continue from generation
like you
to
said,
generation.
for generations.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
good. That's good. Going back to customer service and your clients in this aspect, how do you approach different haircuts or styles based on a client's age or lifestyle?
So back in the day, you used to walk in the barbershop and on the wall you'd have pictures of haircuts.
I remember that.
And they were pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But we're in a whole nother generation and age now where grooming is secondary. You see in the sports arena, you see in the entertainment industry, where now you see people establishing their presence. This is who I am, and you take it or leave it. And so what used to be, back in my day, if you come in the shop, and you want an Ivy League, if you were in the barbershop back in the day, then you knew that was an even all over to the scalp. And so building relationship with people. And this was my thing, because when I was a kid, then I was taken to the barbershop, and Miss K, if I was able to get in her chair, she was the best cut, in the spot. And then there was another gentleman, I can't remember his name, and I probably don't need to call it. But people kind of avoided going to him because
I've seen him.
He was going to cut it the way he wanted it, not the way you wanted it. Well, back in the day, you didn't have a choice. Mama said, cut it like this, and you got to cut like that. You didn't have a choice. But now, kids, they can choose. They know what they want.
Yeah.
And kids are trendy. And so what they see on in the media,
Yeah, I agree.
That's what they want. And so, now we're wearing our hair all over our heads,
Yeah.
and we just wearing tapers. The blessing is that the cost is still the same.
The price don't change.
The price don't change. Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
funny.
sir. Yeah.
This question I've been asking a lot of my guests lately, but I'm gonna kind of put a little sauce on it. Okay. For you, if you could cut the hair of 4 historical people, who would you want in your seat, and why?
Wow, that's interesting. I've never been asked that question, so that's
Shout out to my sister Rita, man.
Oh, okay.
Rita with that question.
I guess because I'm different, I'm not really starstruck, and so it would be hard to really pinpoint anybody in particular. First person that just came to my mind, you know, I mean, if I had an opportunity to cut Denzel, you know, I would.
That's a good one.
I'd do that.
That would be a dope conversation.
Exactly. You know, to get, you know, the kind of wisdom. In fact, him, and then there is a guy. He is, I can't remember his name, but he is used to be a senator. He's right now. He's a historian right now. A lot of information. He's got full of information. Light skinned guy. I can't remember his name though. But people like that. You know, people with you know experiences that have been in markets are in different places that I haven't encountered. See, when I sit down or when I have a kid that sits in my chair and he tells me that he's had an experience that I've never heard another kid say, you know, or a young person, you know, where they've gone, like I got a guy that I cut who is, you know, he's now he's training for CIA.
Wow.
You know, so when I hear, you know, those kinds of conversations and things that are kind of outside of the boundaries that are norm, then I want to. I'd love to have that individual in my chair to just ask questions, you know, which you know it takes a little time out of the haircut, you know, but the information is valuable,
Yeah.
you know, because that's those kinds of people. I would love to have opportunities to cut. You know, President Obama. You know, I'd love to have
That's a
an
good one.
opportunity.
That's
You
a
know,
good
to sit down and have him in my chair, and you know, and even I just saw Ice-T.
Ice-T.
No, Ice Cube.
Ice Cube?
Ice Cube. You know, somebody like those personalities would be great. You know, for just the information, and then it would create such an atmosphere. You know, because people are gonna come in and they're just gonna sit, you know, just to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Barbershop talk.
Last one. Muslim guy. Light skin, which is Farrakhan.
Farrakhan.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you, sis. Yes, I'd love to have him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just in the barbershop and just you know just talking, just having conversation. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, great picks, man.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes.
came with it.
I came with it.
You came with it. Share with us your relationship between you and your mother, Miss Minnie Crane.
So mom, man, she really became instrumental, of course, in my entrepreneur experience, and mom has always been kind of that foundational piece.
I agree.
All of my siblings, you know, she was the investor, you know. My stepfather, who was a great man, great hard worker, you know, had some great business ethics. But you know, when you talk about investment, you know, and I said this too. I was in a service last week, and I said, now, you. In fact, it was Saturday. I was in a funeral Saturday, and I was talking about how mom, you know, when you have an idea, you know, if don't nobody else invest in it, she'll go out of her way. If she believes in it, she'll go out of her way to make sure you have the resources that you need.
Right.
You know, mom, she don't hold back.
Yeah.
You know, she will pour, but that's the nurturer.
I was getting ready to say that.
You know, within her is that ability to nurture. You know, and so she fosters and helps foster those ideas, and so because of her, you know, I'm in the position that I'm in now, and having, you know, even acquiring my own, you know, was birthed out of, I want to make sure that the legacy that she seeded into continues from generation to generation. I want her to live to see the new space.
I like it.
This is the tree from the seed that you sow.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
What are some, I guess, characteristics or some traits that she instilled in you that you still hone in to this day?
Mom, personality. She's very soft spoken. She don't get in your business. But when she sits down with you, then she's going to give you some wisdom.
Yeah.
And I believe the wisdom, of my mother. I would always ask her, why didn't you teach me how to save, because we saw the result of their management, but we were never taught how to manage.
That's good.
And so just gleaning from her, when we opened up this place, she ran. We had a retail store, and so she ran. She did the numbers. She handled the money. I managed the salon side. I managed the people, but she managed the money.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things that I was able to really glean.
Yeah.
From her. She's loving, very soft spoken. Her level of tolerance was great with such as mine, and just beautiful spirit.
Yeah.
Mom's just a beautiful spirit, and so it's been always my heart, just to be that consistent person. I don't want when you show up next week, I'm a whole different guy. I want to be that consistent person, So when people come back and they ain't seen you in 20 years, they say, man, this is the same guy that I remember, 15, 20 years ago.
Wow.
That's been kind of my mantra, man. Just consistent. I had a guy that worked for me. In fact, one of the guys that I work for now on the weekend, I've seen him different one time in his maybe 15, 16 years working for me, and that was when his mother died. But his personality was consistent. He was always, exciting, always high side.
Yeah.
He was always that person all the time until his mother died. But consistency, man, is I believe a trait, that my mom just imparted in us. Yeah.
Wow. Who runs the beauty salon side of things now? Who's mainly over that?
Actually, I do. My wife, she will only step in when necessary.
Right.
Because this is a business that she inherited. She came into. When my mom and I launched, my wife and I were not married, and so this is my second marriage. So when she came in, then she just came in to kind of undergird, and so if I was not present, then her presence was known. Everybody knew that she was there, and she'd make sure things would happen. Yes,
Gotcha. Even in the beauty salon space, how do you stay current? With beauty trends, products, and techniques to make sure that the beauty salon still stays relevant?
So going back to the whole independence piece, so you create these suites, and they're kind of stores, and so everybody does what they do in their own store, and so I don't have to be responsible for hair care products, because this is your individual store. You manage. In fact, the way the salon industry is set up, then we're all individual contractors. And so, like I said earlier, this is it's like real estate. I'm the landlord, and I just manage the properties. I make sure when you come in, the lights still work, and the water's on.
Right.
And those necessary provisions are there. Yeah. But in this next season, then we're really trying to expand into some degree of retail. But I want to be kind of exclusive, and I don't know whether I'm ready to share that on the live today.
Keep it to
Yes,
keep it to your heart right now.
I'm gonna hold it until it's time to unveil. Yes,
I got you. For you, being a barber, do you tend to cut your own hair, or do you have your own personal barber that cuts you?
I have my own personal barber that cuts me. Yeah, one of the guys in the shop, he's one of the younger barbers. Great cut, but my sitting in his chair gives me opportunity to have some intimate time with him.
Yeah, going back to what we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, oftentimes, I might fall asleep, but and most times, most times we're able to have conversations, and the reason for that is for impartation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. No, I can attest to that.
Yes.
That's when you know the haircut.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
you got that type of relaxation. That's so true. Going back to your mentor, Mr. Lee, in your bio, it mentioned that he owned and managed 2 facilities, North Fort Worth and here on Mansfield Highway.
Yes.
How important is ownership in today's society?
I think ownership is key. Ultimately, and then you have to know whether you've been called to be an owner or not. Not everybody can handle the responsibility of ownership.
True.
To whom much is given,
Much is required.
much is required. And so, as an owner, not only am I managing people, but you have to manage the property, the facilities. You got to manage, the money. You got to manage all of that, and not everybody is equipped to handle that level of management.
Yeah, management. Yeah.
And so what he showed me is, how you can have multiple facilities. Now he come from that culture where he was just a hard worker.
Yeah.
Had some military experience. Came up in a day where your daddy's hard. And so you just have that work ethic is just built in you, and so he had that. What I embraced from him was that work ethic, but something else that I learned is that it's not enough to manage the business, manage the people, when you don't successfully manage yourself.
Whew. That's good.
You have to, in our industry, because we eat on the go.
Yeah.
I've seen barbers, stand up, in the middle of a haircut eating a sandwich.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
And those habits,
Yeah.
You develop because what drives you is that economy. I only got so many minutes to get this haircut done. Because you're working. It's a numbers game. And so I learned if I'm gonna have a strong family, and I got to be able to manage, got to balance all of this.
Yeah.
So what he taught me, what I gleaned from my experience with him is I need to start working by appointments. Doctors work by appointments, dentists work by appointments.
So true.
All these professionals work by appointments.
Yeah.
And if I'm a professional, then why come I can't, center my business culture around appointments? And what I learned is that it draws a different clientele. Back in the day, we look forward to just sitting in the barbershop for 8 hours.
He said no. Engineer said no.
He said no. But a lot of guys, see, when COVID hit and all the chairs came out of the barbershop, then when things started kind of rolling again, people started looking for those chairs, wanting to hang out. But when COVID hit and we came back, then everything went to appointments because we had to learn how to manage that day.
Yeah. That's good.
And so for me, being able to manage, because I had young kids, had a young son, who was in school, and I wanted to be able to go do lunch. I wanted to be able to go on field trips, and so I had to be able to have my schedule, managed so I could do those things. I got tired of going to the movies on Friday nights and falling asleep in the theater. Because I've been at work all day on my feet.
Yeah, you tired, man.
Yeah.
Exhausted.
Yeah. So I could plan in the middle of the day, do a matinee, and go to the movie.
Yeah.
So it was just learning how to manage my whole life. Everything, was what I really gleaned from my experience with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Going back, you mentioned balance. I heard this phrase. I mentioned Dr. Darius Daniels off set earlier.
Yes.
Change Church in Atlanta. And he uses the term rhythm. And he uses the analogy of having 2 tennis balls, and trying to juggle them at the same time without dropping one or the other.
Yes.
And so going back to what you were saying,
Yes.
that definitely has to be some sort of rhythm because we handle a lot.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of hats.
Absolutely. And I didn't even mention pastoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you in order for you to be community, when the mayor or the city manager calls me and say, Pastor, we need you to do prayer, then I have to be able to manage my schedule so I can be in those different
Word.
places.
Yeah, yeah. Going to that, this is a great segue to my next question.
Okay.
Are there any similarities or differences between running a business against running a ministry?
It's all the same, bro.
Yeah.
It's one and the same.
Yeah.
It's people, and personalities and pouring and counseling. Right now we're in transition and there's a young lady who came into the business maybe 6 months prior to our transition. And she's an out of towner, and she from Detroit, and she wasn't or Michigan. She wasn't the type of person that told everybody her business, But when she met Pastor, when she met Big Brother, then she found a safe space.
Yeah.
And that's what I create. That's what I create for all my staff. I want a safe space. I want you to understand that whatever you say to me, it's confidential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not gonna hear it in the barbershop setting.
Yeah. I'm with that. It's good.
And you don't realize how valuable that is until there's a disconnect. And so, she tells me every week, I need my session. But it is absolutely. I mean, you pastor people. I have a guy who I think he told me he came to the barbershop before he visited my home church. He came in the barbershop one day and needed prayer, and I prayed for him. And I didn't remember. I couldn't remember this guy. When he gave me this whole testimony, I didn't remember that experience. And he said, you prayed for me, and I'll never forget that. And then one time I came to your church, and at church I was at the altar, and you were the one that prayed for me.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. And then he showed up one day for a haircut, and a couple of weeks later, he was a member.
Wow.
And so you never know how valuable your impartation is, and presence is in a community. You never really know how valuable it is until later.
Wow.
But it's the principle: seed time and harvest.
Yeah. As long as the earth remains,
That's
there'll
it.
always be seed time and harvest.
That's it.
You're right
That's
about
it.
that.
Yes, sir.
Following that up, how do you separate Eric Powell the pastor from Eric Powell the barber, or is there any separation?
It is. It's fine because when people know that you pastor, then they're gonna always handle you as such.
Yeah.
They're gonna remind you, and then hold you, to that standard too. And I don't trip over that. I'm okay with being held to a standard, but in my balance, I want people to know too that I'm real too.
Yeah.
And so real people have real experiences. And so sometimes in conversations when conversations go one way, then pastor will say, think about it this way. Now I hear you talking about such and such in their experience, but what if that was your son? Or what if that was your daughter? How would you handle it if your son came home and said that?
Right.
And so you always have to try to create, a real balance. See, because when people are only challenged to think one way, then they can never grow.
They never grow.
They never grow.
Yeah.
They never grow. And so I take my experience, I take the opportunity. I won't interject unless I'm called into it now. If I feel a leading or if somebody mentions something, then I will interject. But
Yeah.
but I'm not always, I ain't always preacher pastor,
That's good though. You shouldn't have to be.
No, exactly.
No, you shouldn't have to be. That's good. I think for me, it just starts with learning how to build rapport with people.
Yes, sir.
Learning who they are, what they like, what they don't like, until maybe God leads you to speak
Yes, sir.
something to them. So
Right,
no,
right.
that's good. How do you manage a business and making sure that you spend quality time with Miss Cassandra Powell? What does that look like?
So we have a unique situation because my wife actually works, in the salon.
Yeah.
Well, in the season prior to now, because now we're in two different places. But so she worked in the salon. So I would always, I had opportunity to just peek in on her. I wouldn't. I'm not intrusive. I'm not sitting in your space and,
Yeah.
and hanging out there all day, letting you know I'm here. And when I'm leaving, then I'm getting ready to go. I'll be back or whatever. Just offering those opportunities. Maybe doing lunch or buying lunch or hanging out. You have to be. When you wear so many hats, then you have to be intentional about giving that private time, that intimate time. And so it's a challenge, honestly speaking. When you pastor, and then you don't just pastor the people in your church, but you pastor a community.
Yeah.
And then you pastor. You got a staff that you pastor. I mean, you have all these people that you are assigned to. Then you have to know how to say, just I can't do it or not be available. You have to learn you have to create the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Reading your bio, share with us some of the organizations you've partnered with in regards to the back to school events that you guys have done.
Okay.
Who are some of the people that you partner with?
So we initially launched our first back to school event. We did it solo, and I was able to create some partnerships with Wells Fargo.
Wow.
There was some other smaller businesses that I was able to partner with, which created for me, some interesting dynamics because, when you start really trying to build something, then you need those relationships. You need and you understand the value of having a significant name attached to what you're doing, And so when you say something like, a Wells Fargo, of course, when we first started, then we did our first back to school event in my parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
We set up a stage in the parking lot, and in front of the shop, we had different tents set up where vendors were outside. We had a live DJ. We had food going on right there in the parking lot. That was my first encounter. And so after that, then I started looking at larger partnerships. A partnership with Greater Sweet Home Church, which had a facility, and so we could do it outside, and we can do it in the gym, and that's when we started expanding and bringing in more acts and doing those things. And so the partnerships, and then from that season, then I went to the city, and then things starting to kind of get more broader, but you kind of because you're a little small piece of the pie, then you kind of fizzle out when you start dealing with municipalities, So, but partnerships are great, I embrace partnerships.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit offset about your process and, the new lot and land that you guys on the process of working towards. So I guess share with us that process and, how that's been going.
Okay, so we back in December, we acquired a piece of property in Everman. And what I celebrate is that because Everman also partners with the city of Forest Hill, then there's really not a disconnect. It's just another connect. So I believe, and after we were talking, then I realized then God will strategically put you somewhere, and He doesn't allow your seed to die from whence you've come, but He's just kind of transplanting, and creating another field. So we secured a piece of property, and during COVID, I asked the Lord to give me vision to put all we do in one space. See, and so it's a piece of commercial property where phase one will be the salon and phase two will be the chapel. And so now I can see I don't have to necessarily leave my place of business, and go to another part of town. I can just go next door. And worship. I can just go next door and pray. I can go to next door and go in my office or do a counseling session or whatever. I have everything in the same space.
I love it.
And I'm excited about that because it's also positioned in what they call downtown Everman. So in that area, they want to revitalize it, and so the resources that we will be able to tap into that I'm excited about, and then what I get an opportunity to do is I get an opportunity to create in the city vision, allowing vision to come to pass, and then people see this is what kingdom mindset looks like. This is what kingdom culture looks like, and developing and establishing relationships with people in the city and other businesses in the city. And so I'm really, really, really excited about that because we're acquiring. It's an acquisition. It's not another lease space. I've spent 30 years of my life in Forest Hill leasing space. When I told my landlord that because he wanted another 5 years out of me, I said, I can't give you another 5.
Wow.
I've given you 30 years of my life.
Wow.
And so I didn't tell him, that I was acquiring my own. I just told him it was just time for me to go.
Yeah.
Because I've watched you for 30 years, set up your kids and your kids' kids, and I'm seeing generations come and collect my money. So I want to position myself where my children's children, can experience the blessing that their pawpaw put in place.
Wow. That's good.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And I'm still young enough to see it come to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
When does everything look to be, I guess, finished and established? What time frame?
So the time frame is between now and maybe the first semester of the year. We should be. I'd love to go into 2025. With bombs going off, firecrackers,
everything, streamers,
yes,
clapping hands.
Yes, sir. I'll do church in the salon. Bring in the new year there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I love it. With you being a community leader, what inspired you to get involved in community fundraising that's geared toward, scholarship funding? I've seen that in your bio.
Yes, sir. So while in the industry, I saw where, we were providing a service and we were yielding a return from the service that we're providing. But I told the Lord, I said, I want to be guilty of giving back to the community. I want to be guilty of when a kid, I remember at my daughter's, her senior year, and she was in JRTC, and at this particular commencement, they were talking about all the different scholarship funds that were available that kids were accessing through different outsources, through different places of business and through different institutions. And so I said, I want to position my business to be one of those vehicles. I want when a kid, says that I'm going to Notre Dame, then he has, $2, $3, $4, $5, $10,000 from, the Image 2 group, or whatever. I want to be to create that kind of footprint, in the history of my business.
That's good.
Yes, yes, sir, yes, sir.
That's good. Outside of the, day-to-day business endeavors, what does Eric Paul do for fun? Just to relax and unwind? 'Cause I know, like we mentioned, you wear a lot of hats.
Right.
So
Yes.
what do you do to relax?
Man, that's a good question. On Sundays, I like to, after service, go and sit on my couch and in front of the TV and watch as many games as
I'm
I
with
can.
you. I'm with you. Sound like me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But my wife and I, we're creative. We love the arts, and so we like plays. We like I like orchestra. Because I'm a band guy. Musician. So I like that. I like hosting. We try to host different events. In-house. Serve. Our married couples. I like serving. I like so that's I think that's therapeutic.
Yeah.
For me. So I enjoy that. I enjoy the results. That come along with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I've definitely had the opportunity to see Lady Cassandra in her gifting,
Yes.
praise dance ministry. So
Yes.
no, she's definitely great at what she
Oh my
does,
God.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This question I gotta ask: what has been the wildest haircut request that a client has ever asked for?
Wow. I'm not sure whether I've really had a wild one. So coming up, you had, and you probably don't remember Gumby's.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
okay,
do.
Okay.
I'm young, but I ain't.
Okay,
I ain't
okay.
that young.
Yeah, for a kid, and so when you have a kid that comes in and asks for a haircut like that, then and I've seen it happen, and I don't know whether I've ever cut one, but maybe the shag,
I remember
with
the shags.
with the ducktail, the ponytail, they were not, I guess, not a whole lot of wild haircuts,
Yeah.
in my season of cutting. I mean, they're wilder today, just because you don't do nothing with them, you just get up and go,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's, I can't really say whether I really had a season where there was a wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to what you're saying, there are a lot of people who still go back to the haircuts, of old, like you mentioned, the Gumbies and the
Yes.
shag stuff that we seen back in 80s and
Yes.
90s and stuff. So, no, you're right about that. I guess what advice would you give to someone considering a career in barber and beauty salon industry? What advice would you give to them?
Gotcha. So, number one, the first thing I always encourage anybody in any career is you got to be passionate about what you do. You got to love it. Yeah, and when you are passionate, then you will forever do it. You'll be excited about doing. You'll be excited about coming to work. You'll love the atmosphere, the experience, the encounter, and so and I've had an opportunity to talk to young guys and mentor young men in the market, and that's the first thing I tell them. You got to be passionate about it, and you have to have some discipline.
Yeah.
See, because this industry it's kind of hustle like, if I can say. It's like the game, the dope game. You can come to work with no money in your pocket. By the end of the day, you leave with $300-400 in your pocket.
Yeah.
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 And so when you have, or you in a business where there's cash in hand, then you have to have some disciplines, because you can leave work with $400 in your pocket. And by the time you get home after the 2 stops that you've made, you done lost half, you done spent half of that. And so that's damaging in regards to your future, because you have to be a good steward, because I don't have somebody writing me a check, and at the end of the week, that check is coming to me. No, I'm getting paid every day.
Every day.
And so I have to learn how to manage what's in my hand.
That's good.
And so I encourage, these guys to, you got to have some discipline. Don't eat out every day. It's too convenient, and they create it that way.
Ooh, you tugging on me, man.
Yeah,
Help me.
Bring your lunch. Because if you eat out every day, if I come to work, because I'm the early guy. I like to show up. On Saturdays I'm there at 5:30, sometimes 5 o'clock.
Whew.
And my Saturdays, I work from 5 to noon. And before COVID, really, my goal was to not work on Saturdays at all, because I wanted to be able to invest that time, in preparing for Sunday, and then even for my family time or whatnot. So when you come to work and that early and you hadn't had breakfast, then you gonna get a little something. You can stop by McDonald's, or you can stop by Brahms like I did today. And got me some little pancakes. And then if you hadn't prepared lunch, then if you at work during lunchtime, eventually you're gonna want to eat again. And so you can easily spend 20 plus, depending on your appetite. And because I work with some guys, they are connoisseurs when it comes to food, and so they want the best, and so they might spend $25 at lunch, and so by the end of the day, you didn't spend $80, $90. That you have to. It's a discipline game, and back to the whole not just managing money, but you got to manage your time. See, because you can sit all day, and then this is what I learned at the beginning of my market is when people don't know you, then they don't come to you. They watch you. They just kind of hang out to see what kind of product you produce.
Yeah.
And so it might be 6 months to a year before they even check you out.
Yeah.
I built my business off of my mentor's business.
Word.
Because I was there, I was available.
Yeah, a model.
I was present, and so people saw me, and because of that, and I tell these guys, just keep yourself in position, be available, because when somebody comes in here and they can't get to Mr. So and so, then if you're available, then they might try you, and you might win them, and now you got to climb. But if you're not there, if you decide you're not gonna show up to noon. I got the guy that cuts my hair. It's my boy, man. I love him to death. But he don't come to work until 1:30.
Oh, my goodness. My Lord.
But he works to 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So I have what I consider first, second, and third shift, just like GM. But you got to know what works for you.
Yeah.
But establish, management is the key. And that's what I really try to instill in these young barbers. Manage your time. You got to manage yourself. You got to manage your health.
Yeah.
You got to manage your money. You got to manage your relationships. Management is
It's
key.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In success. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This was good, man.
No.
Yeah, today was good, man. I learned a lot about you outside of knowing you in ministry.
Yes,
but my engineer is telling me we got to put a put a wrap on it,
Okay.
man. I, like you mentioned, I got to be time
Yes,
conscious.
sir. Yes, absolutely.
Got to be time conscious, man. But this is great, big bro.
Yes, sir.
Man, I
Thank
appreciate you having
Yes,
on. Being with This Is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People. Your host with the most, Willie Beeman, man. Tune in next Wednesday, 12 p.m. With my guest, Araceli Cocker, man, who is a mobile marketing coordinator and entrepreneurship as well. And so we appreciate y'all guys. Y'all come back and see us. Peace.
Yes.